When I was a Disneyland cast member, I heard many ghost stories. Walt's spirit is always alive in Disneyland. However, the chances of having a ghostly encounter with him is greatest after closing. So, here are 9 ghost stories told by cast members that may help convince you that Walt never left. The Golden Horseshoe in Frontierland is known by cast members to be one of the most haunted locations in all of Disneyland. Several ghosts are known to appear in the saloon, including a little girl, a deceased former cast member, and Walt. Long after Walt's death, one of the leads reported that when he worked closing shift, they believed Walt watched them. When they would clean the floors, they would place the chairs up on the tables. In Walt's favorite box above the stage, one chair was commonly found back upright on the floor. He also said that the smell of cigarette smoke would waft from that area. Walt's love of steam trains and his desire to have a life-size railroad of his own was a major impetus for him to build Disneyland. Out of the 5 steam trains at Disneyland, an average of 3 are usually running on the main line around the park during operating hours. After closing, they all return to the roundhouse for their nightly inspections and maintenance. According to a former cast member, the Train Command Center has a board that shows where trains are on the track. He said usually, in the dead of night, when all of the trains are off the main line and in the roundhouse, a train would show up on the board in the corner, and sometimes you could even hear its whistle blow. He said that the older cast members used to say, "That's Walt's train." One night, around 2:30 a.m., a supervisor and a couple of friends who had special permission to be there after hours were walking through an empty Fantasyland towards the castle. To their surprise, through the castle's passageway, they saw an older man wearing 1960s-style clothing standing on the drawbridge. He turned and looked at them, smiled and waved. They said it was Walt. He turned back towards Main Street and began walking towards the hub, and then vanished before their eyes. When Walt was alive, he was known for giving off a loud cough when he walked down the studio hallways. Walt was a heavy smoker, but this cough was more to give a warning sign to his workers that the boss was in the area. Well, late one night, 2 security guards were patrolling New Orleans Square. They were walking down the Court of Angels staircase outside of Club 33 when they both heard a man cough, and they instantly smelled cigarette smoke. They could not find anyone in the area. The security guard who shared this story stated, "I just have too many things that have happened to list them all here." A cast member who did not believe in ghosts had a run-in with the ghost of Walt Disney late one night on the sailing ship Columbia. He was cleaning below deck when he began to feel the hairs stand up on the back of his neck and had an uneasy feeling that he wasn't alone. Then, just in front of the forward bulkhead, he saw the faintest hint of swirling mist that began to thicken. He started walking towards it and got 2/3 of the way there when the mist took form of a young Walt Disney. He stopped dead in his tracks, unable to move as Walt stared at him. And then Walt vanished. Needless to say, he was so utterly freaked out that he didn't finish cleaning below deck that night. One night, a cast member was cleaning Walt's apartment above the firehouse, and when she was leaving, she turned off the lamp in the window. Once she exited the building, she noticed the lamp was back on, so she returned to the apartment, turned off the lamp, and left again. After stepping back outside, she looked up to find that the lamp was back on again. Dismayed, she went back up to the apartment for a third time, and once she got inside, she heard a man's voice say, "I'm still here." Some say this is why Disneyland always leaves that lamp on in his memory. Walt didn't like to smoke his cigarettes in front of children. He felt like he had to embody a more wholesome Uncle Walt persona. So, when Walt was at Disneyland, he would often smoke on the staircase that leads to his apartment behind the firehouse. After Walt died, a security supervisor said that he would smell intense cigarette smoke back there almost every night shift. He used to try to catch the smoker, but he never did. He was dumbfounded. He was smelling fresh smoke, but there was no one smoking. He never could find any cigarette butts or any ashes left behind. He finally concluded that it must be Walt having a smoke. A cast member who worked at the Emporium on Main Street was leaving her closing shift after 2 a.m. While she was walking across Main Street alone, she heard a man humming and walking behind her, clearly wearing dress shoes. She assumed it was another cast member, but when she turned to see who it was, no one was there. She went on to say that she likes to think it was Walt. One night after closing, some cast members were in the fire station below Walt's apartment when they began to hear footsteps of someone walking around above them. They assumed it was another cast member. However, the apartment was empty and had been locked up for hours.